I'm Clinton Griffiths, the nation's top trade negotiator in the hot seat on Capitol Hill. U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer presenting the Trump administration's trade policy agenda before the Senate Finance Committee. Ag Day's Michelle Rook joins me. Michelle, senators had a lot of questions, especially when it comes to the president's tariff strategy.
Yeah, Clinton, Republican senators in the Finance Committee were obviously more supportive of President Trump's goal of using tariffs to reverse the $1.2 trillion trade deficit. However, those on both sides of the aisle pushed USTR Greer if the strategy for reciprocal tariffs is to get better trade deals, change global trade policy, or as a permanent revenue source.
What a good-looking group.
As President Trump's reciprocal tariffs are set to go into effect around the globe, the Senate Finance Committee probed for answers on the end game.
There is no clear message of how the tariffs were determined, what they're supposed to accomplish, how long they'll be in place, whether they're a negotiating tool or a move to try and cut the United States off from global trade and usher in a new era of 1870s style protectionism.
USTR Greer told the committee the 30-year trade deficit forced the president to declare a national emergency, and Trump's tariff strategy is already bearing fruit.
Nearly 50 countries have approached me personally to discuss the president's new policy and explore how to achieve reciprocity, and they've spoken with many members of the administration. Several of these countries, such as Argentina, Vietnam, India, and Israel, have suggested that they will reduce their tariffs and non-tariff barriers in line with the president's policy.
Yet even Republicans expressed doubts.
I assume that the objective in these approaches, and I assume that there will be discussions and negotiations with them, but first, could you verify that? Is the objective here to engage in market access negotiations with these countries?
As the countries come to approach us, what we've told them is if you have a better idea to achieve reciprocity and to get our trade deficit down, we want to talk to you. We want to negotiate with you. And it goes both ways.
The one exception, Greer says, is China.
Unfortunately, China for many years seems to be choosing its own path on market access. Again, they have agency in this. They elected to announce retaliation. Other countries did not.
Meanwhile, farmers say they're encouraged by negotiations but can't withstand a long-term trade war.
I guess I'm not a fan of tariffs, but that's where we're at. And I hope that they are willing to end this quickly, and I shouldn't say end it quickly, but negotiate with these countries quickly.
Because he says the longer the tariff war goes on, the more risk there is of export customers looking elsewhere for products, both short and long term. I'm Michelle Rook reporting for Ag Day.
All right, thanks, Michelle. Now, the European Union is finalizing an answer to some of the new U.S. tariffs against it. The EU saying it is planning a 25% tariff on U.S. goods, but the duties are not on U.S. bourbon, wine, or dairy. Under the plan, orange juice, poultry, almonds, and soybeans will be targeted with anywhere from a 10% to a 25% tariff, but the tariffs on almonds and soybeans would be postponed until December. Now, EU member states are due to vote on the proposal today. A warning from the Banana Association of North America. Costs for America's favorite fruit could go up by as much as $250 million a year. It says that's due to the 10% reciprocal tariff imposed by the Trump administration. Now, USDA reports more than $2.5 billion worth of fresh bananas were imported into the U.S. last year. More than 90% of bananas sold in the U.S. are imported. Some good news when it comes to ag trade in the U.S. Imports have dipped. In February, exports fell to $13.59 billion. Imports dropped to $17.86 billion, narrowing the monthly trade deficit to $4.27 billion. That's an improvement from January's shortfall of more than $6 billion. But during the first 5 months of fiscal year 2025, the U.S. had an ag trade deficit of more than $16 billion, with more than $77 billion in exports and more than $93 billion in imports. That's about 4 times larger than the $4.24 billion deficit seen at the same point last year.